Hello, everyone. On this podcast episode, I'm going to talk about, you know, why our world can be a world governed by randomness. So, in order to prove that, I've proven that the world isn't a world of randomness, but a world governed by logic in the past. But this time, I'm going to use duality. I'm going to use duality to show you that, the laws of duality to show you that our world can be a world governed by random chance. Our world has to be inherently intelligent. Otherwise, randomness will not exist. So, because atheists keep claiming, that this is a world governed by random chance. They don't understand the world at all. People who understand the world cannot be atheists. The Bible tells you God is everything. God is through everything. Everything can only exist through God. You can only exist through God. Since God is everything and God is intelligent, right? The world should be automatically intelligent, right? If the Bible is correct and the Bible tells you that God is everything, that's why God is omnipresent, right? That means God is the world itself by default. If God is everything, then God is the world itself, right? So in order to prove that God exists and God is the world, you have to prove that the world is intelligent, just like the Bible states. Because if God is the world, then the world must be intelligent. The easiest proof that the world is intelligent is this. The world created human beings, right? That means the world is our creator. The world is our God. That's what the Bible states. You can only exist through God, and God created human beings. So here's the basic proof that God exists. Here's the basic proof that the world is intelligent. And the world is your intelligent creator. The world is the biblical God. The simple proof is this. Humans are intelligent. Humans are part of the world. Humans are the world. If humans are intelligent and humans are the world, then basic logic shows that the world is intelligent. Because you can't separate the human being from the world. The fact that humans are intelligent automatically means the world is intelligent. Why? Because our intelligence comes from the world. If we weren't part of the world, we would not be intelligent. So the only thing required for intelligence is what? The world. Because the world is intelligent, that's why humans can be intelligent. Is that not true? If human beings weren't part of the world, there'll be no such thing as intelligence in the human body. Because the human body itself is made up of the world. So if humans are intelligent, it tells you what? Intelligence is a property of the world. It isn't a property of a human being. It comes from the world itself. The world is inherently intelligent. That's why humans who are part of the world can be inherently intelligent, right? But then scientists say this world is a world governed by random chance. How can the world be intelligent when there's so much randomness to the world? So now let me show you a different approach to the same argument. That's already, basic fact. The world is intelligent. The world is human. Human are intelligent. Human, human are intelligent and human are the world. Then the world is intelligent. Sorry. Human are intelligent. Human are the world. Then by default, the world is intelligent. This is basic tautology, right? If human are the world and humans are intelligent, then by default the world is intelligent because you can't separate humanity from the world. So the world is intelligent because of humans. Humans are intelligent because of the world. So now let's use duality to prove that the world is intelligent. Duality states that if one aspect of the world is true, right, its equal and opposite must also be true. Meaning, without one aspect of the world, its equal and opposite will not be there. For example, if something short doesn't exist, something tall will not exist. If the past doesn't exist, its equal and opposite, the future, will not exist. So the moment you prove the past exists, that will be the exact moment you prove the future exists. The moment you prove there's one dimension is the exact moment you prove there are multiple dimensions. Why? Because if one thing exists, its equal and opposite, many, must also exist. Without the first dimension, the other dimensions will not be there. Without the past, the future will not be there. Without the left side of the world, there will be no right side of the world. So for the left side of the world to exist, the right side must also exist. If there's no such thing as something on the inside, something on the outside of you will not exist. For something on the outside of you to exist, something on the inside of you must also exist. For something on the inside of you to exist, something must also exist on the outside. For inside to exist, outside must exist. For the past to exist, the future must exist. For existence itself to exist, non-existence must also be there. Why? Because without existence, there's no such thing as non-existence. Without non-existence, there's no such thing as existence. For non-existence to exist, existence must exist. For existence to exist, non-existence must also exist. That's how duality works. That's how our world works. And this plays into order and chaos, logic and illogical. For something logical to exist, something illogical must also exist. For something illogical to exist, something logical must also exist. For this world to behave illogically, the world must inherently be logical. That's why you can understand the rules of this world. Logical beings cannot understand something that's illogical. That's a fact. If something is illogical, it means it can't be understood. Human beings can only understand things that are logical. Intelligence can only understand something that's intelligent. Meaning, the only reason we can understand the world is because the world behaves intelligently. If the world didn't behave intelligently, we would not be able to understand the world. Right? If there's no logic to this world, our logical minds would not be capable of understanding it. The fact that we can understand the world and create scientific rules and scientific laws, logical laws that show you how the world works, automatically means the world is a logical world. The world is an intelligent world. For the illogical aspect of this world to exist, the world must be logical. Without logic, there's no such thing as randomness. Randomness is illogical. But for randomness to exist, intelligence must be there. The world has to be inherently intelligent. Otherwise, the world will not behave illogically. The illogical aspects of the world cannot just appear out of thin air. The future cannot exist without the past. There's no such thing as a future without the past. There's no such thing as movement without non-movement. There's no such thing as outside without inside. There's no such thing as tall without short. There's no such thing as all these dimensions without the first dimension. Without nothing, there's no something. Without something, nothing will cease to exist. So you have to understand, because this world is intelligent, that's why entropy exists in this world. Entropy is a law, a logical law of the world. Without logic, the illogical aspects of this world would cease to exist. If the world wasn't intelligent, all these illogical things inside this world would not exist. The world has to be intelligent in order for these things to come about. Randomness cannot exist on its own. The very core of randomness has to be intelligent. Otherwise, there's no such thing as randomness. Think of this as a computer. When someone creates a computer, right, and creates an operating system, do you know what they do first? The very act of creating a computer is using logic. Human beings use their intelligence to program the computer to behave a certain way. If the computer didn't have a base level of intelligence that governs how it behaves, you can't introduce randomness to the computer. Meaning, the random aspects of a computer has to be programmed in logically. The world behaves the same way. The random aspects of life has to be programmed in logically. Without logic, there's no such thing as the illogical world. The world cannot behave illogically if it wasn't intelligent. Without intelligence, there's no randomness. The reason why the world behaves randomly, the reason why there's entropy, is because of the logical laws that govern it, the intelligent laws that govern the world. Without the intelligent laws that govern the world, entropy will cease to exist. Randomness will cease to exist. Without the logical laws that govern how a computer behaves, you can't program randomness inside the computer. There'll be no randomness inside the computer if the computer wasn't inherently intelligent, inherently logical. You must first make the computer behave logically and then use the logical rules that govern that computer that the programmer has already programmed into the computer to make the computer behave erratically. You must first create an operating system that behaves logically in order for you to create illogical programs within that operating system. The operating system must first be logical before you can install random softwares inside, before you can add random number generators inside the computer. The computer must first be intelligent before you can add illogical aspects to the computer. Without logic, the illogical aspects of the world disappear. Without intelligence, randomness, entropy will cease to exist. You live in a world that's inherently intelligent. That's why humans are inherently intelligent. It's because the world is intelligent. That's why human beings are intelligent. It's because the world is aware. That's why human beings who live inside this world can see and are aware of our surroundings. Every aspect that human beings have comes from the world, and that includes intelligence. Human beings are only conscious because the world itself is conscious. Human beings are only alive because the world itself is alive. Without the world, there's no such thing as a human being. The world is conscious and aware of everything that's going on. The world is one. It is one world. Because separation and wholeness are two sides of the same coin. Without one, there's no other. The world has to be one. Otherwise, you will not experience the feeling of separation. You will not be able to walk around this earth as a separate human being if the world wasn't one. It is one world. Just like the human body. The human body is composed of empty space, just like the world, right? But yet the human body behaves like one. If the human body behaves like one and is part of the world, then the world must behave like one. Because the human body is one, and the human body is the world, so the world is one. You can't separate humanity from the world. The way all the properties that humans have are the properties of the world itself. The human body is composed of empty space. It's mostly empty space, just like the world around you. Yet we still behave, our bodies still behave as one. Our minds still behave as one. Why? Because separation and wholeness are equal and opposites, and they exist as one. Without one, there is no other. The world must be one in order for us to experience separation. The world must be intelligent in order for us to experience randomness. Without the world being intelligent, there's no such thing as randomness. Without the world being one, whole, there's no such thing as separation. Empty space isn't empty. It is still filled with energy. And that energy connects everything together. Because energy is one. It may appear separate, but it's still one. Everything is energy. So everything is created by energy, right? And energy is by default intelligent. Otherwise, humans would not be intelligent. If everything is created by energy, right? Then everything is an illusion created by energy. That means energy is the only thing that exists. Intelligent energy is the only thing that exists. And that's what the Bible states. God tells you himself, I create all things because only I exist. God and the world are synonymous. God is the creator of the world. God created the world through his body. That's why the world is inherently intelligent. Because the world, the creator of the world, is intelligent. The very core of the world is powered by intelligence. Without intelligence to begin with, there's no such thing as randomness. There's no such thing as entropy. The world must first be intelligent before you can program randomness into it, before you can program entropy into it. Without intelligence, there's no randomness. There's no entropy. The illogical aspects of the world will disappear. The very core of this world is intelligent. The very core of this world is aware of everything. The very core of this world is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. And that's the very definition of the Christian God. Omnipresent, because everything is the world. It says the world is intelligent, the world is God. Since the world is omnipresent, it is also omniscient, and it's also omnipotent. You can't be more powerful than the world, because everything is the world. You can be more intelligent than the world. You can be more aware of than the world. So the world is omniscient. You can be more omnipresent than the world, because everything is the world. It is one massive intelligent being, and that being is your creator. That being is your God. And it's a fact. The intelligent world created you. So the intelligent world is by default your God. And that's what the Bible states. You can only exist through God, through the intelligent God. Entropy can only exist because of intelligence. You can only exist through God. Be very careful of liars. Do not be deceived by atheists who rather lie than accept the truth. They rather guard a broken house than they just accept that. Their house is broken. They're not logical. Logical people will understand this world itself is God. That's why God is omnipresent. The God of the Bible is everything. And the God of the Bible is intelligent. That's why the world is intelligent. The world and God are synonymous. That's why God is omnipresent. Wherever you go, you will always be in the presence of God. No matter where you are in this world, you will always be in the presence of God. That's what omnipresence means. Because God is the world itself. God is the very fabric of reality. Without God, there's no such thing as reality. There's no such thing as the world. Without the intelligence of the world will cease to exist. Because the world is inherently intelligent, that's why intelligence can exist. That's why human beings can be intelligent. That's why animals can be intelligent. Our intelligence is a property of the world and belongs solely to the world. Repent. The God of the Bible is real. The God of the Bible is the world itself. So that's it for today's podcast episode. I pray for everyone's safety and understanding. Amen.